What's up, YouTube? It's WaffleTurd here, and I'm recently trying to undergo a name change to get my name to what my 3DS name is. So basically, let's get started with the video. What we're going to be going over are Icarus Uprising tips, hints, and tricks to help you become a better player at this game, online and offline, everywhere you go. So let's get started. First thing we're going to start off with is solo play, and how you should go about using your weapons. I mean, I can't really tell you what type of weapon to use because that's based entirely on the user. But the weapon I use, I'm going to give you some hints on the weapon I use and the kind of strategy I go by. I try to make the strongest weapon I can, but also the strongest weapon I can manage. And that right now is this darkness bow right here that has confusion, walking speed, backwards dart shot, backward dash charge shot, and all that stuff. So basically, I think this is the perfect weapon for me because I'm really good at dodging, so I don't really have to worry about the overall defense perk. Well, it's not really a perk, but the darkness bow is already one of the, I think it's the most powerful bow or one of the most powerful bows. And with it equipped with the backwards dash charge shot +2, it helps me get away from my enemies when I need to and deal a lot more damage. And the charge time is pretty slow on darkness bow, but you know, I can handle it. So basically, just get a good weapon you can handle and make it the best weapon you can possibly have by your side when playing on solo. And another thing is powers, and this is the strict power chart that I go by that gets me through almost every level. In fact, I've beat every level on 9 with the exception of The War is Over, Hades Belly, and 3 Trials. So let's get started with the powers I use, and I'll explain why I use them. First power is a level 2 Bumblebee, and this is probably the first power I use when I'm in a sticky situation. That way I don't have to waste my health recovery level 3 and my brief invincibility. So that's the Bumblebee is basically the first thing I use, but if all else fails, I'll go to brief invincibility and then health recovery. But you know, it's entirely up to you on what order you want to use them. But this is just my power chart. So, and right after Bumblebee runs out, say for instance they put me in Crisis, I use Crisis recovery, and I use random when all else fails. But the main things I say for the boss battles are health recovery and brief invincibility, especially when you're going up against a really annoying boss like Hades Heart or the Great Sacred Treasure. God, I hate those bosses. But anyways, and powers don't really matter when you're doing The War is Over because you're flying the whole time. But these are basically the powers I use. Trust me, it helps a lot, and I recommend you should at least try it out if you have trouble beating the game. And how to go about getting good weapons is, well, I'm going to tell you what I did. One thing I never did and probably never will do is buy weapons from the shop. Because shop weapons, they're hugely overpriced. Say for instance, if they're in probably the $250 to $300 range, they usually cost a lot of money. And as you can see, I have a lot of hearts because I never spend any hearts. Those are basically my dying stash in case I die. So I basically fuse all my weapons to get what I got now. And I can show you all my strong weapons right here. My favorites. This is the Darkness Bow. I use that, and I use the Crusader Blade. I use that in multiplayer from time to time. I use the Lancer Staff in multiplayer. I use the Raptor Claws in single player and multiplayer, but I use the Raptor Claws when I really need to have mobility in single player. I use the Curse Palm in multiplayer because it has great homing ability. And I really love Magnus Club, but I don't really use this Magnus Club anymore. I plan on fusing it. This is the Magnus Club I use now. This, it has 5 stars range, 4 melee, and the main thing I love about this club is the standing dash charge shot and the dash charge shot. The dash charge shot, it literally can one hit kill anybody that doesn't have the overall defense perk. It literally can. That's how I get so good at online gameplay. But the first thing I started off with was the Raptor Claws. Okay. Now let's get started to the tips and hints on online gameplay. Okay, the first thing, light versus dark. Well, no, let's go over free-for-all first. In free-for-all, do not hold back on your weaponry whatsoever, because, I mean, you're not really putting anybody at stake but yourself, because you don't have a team. So you want to get your strongest weapon out there and pack a big punch to your opponents to leave them crying. That's I use my Magnus Club in multiplayer, light versus dark and free-for-all. I use my Magnus Club most out of any of my online weaponry, but don't hold back in free-for-all and know what's around you at all times. Say for instance, if you kill an enemy, check behind you, and then check back in front of you and go on about your path. Excuse me. So basically, always watch what's around you so you'll know what's going on, so you won't get picked off by somebody with a staff or anything, and keep that dodge finger active. I mean, you gotta dodge at the right times and stuff, because you can have 2 or 3 shots coming at you and you won't even be thinking, and all 3 of them hit you at once and pow, you're dead. But anyways, here's some hints for light versus dark, but this is basically up to you on whether these hints are helpful. But if you're truly confident that you have great skill in light versus dark, do not hold back your weaponry. They'll tell you it's better for you to get a weapon that's lower value so you won't put your team at stake. But if you know you're a good player, don't do that, because having a weapon with low value and high value have those advantages and disadvantages. So a weapon with low value, it may not do as much damage, but it reduces the loss of your team health bar when you die. And when you die, say for instance, you'll have less of your powers on the bottom screen because your weapon is so low in value. But if you have a weapon with high value, it can deal a very mighty punch. And let's see, when you die, your team health bar does go down a considerable amount. But when you respawn, you have more of your powers, so it can help you get more kills. So I recommend using a weapon with high value anyway, if you know you're not going to die. But if you know you suck at the game, of course use a weapon with low value, because if you use a weapon with high value, you just run around, woo, I'm bad at the game, you dead in a heartbeat, cause your team's angel appear, and they're going to be mad. But yeah, those are some tricks for light versus dark. Is basically entirely up to you on what kind of player you are. So now let's move on and keep your reflexes stiff. Now onto the Easter eggs. When you go on any kind of menu screen, you can drag solo, not solo, just any other menu icons, drag them around as a pretty neat Easter egg. And when you die, you can hold down, and then it'll show you where all your hearts go. It'll show you a big pile of all your hearts from when you died. So those are the only 2 Easter eggs I know in the game. But and another thing, I like to take out my bosses fairly quickly in solo mode, so I don't really get to hear all the dialogue. But if you like to hear all the dialogue and you can kill the boss pretty fast, just hold back so you can hear all the dialogue they're saying. Is because I just found out that Magnus had 2 kids from hearing all the dialogue from the chapter 2. Okay, those are basically all the Easter eggs I know, and here's how to control Kid Icarus. Here's probably the control scheme that I use Kid Icarus Uprising. I move with the control pad, and I have my shoot button set for this and this. Probably this, I don't remember. And I have my power to where I use it with down. And most people, they have the same control scheme, but they aim with like this, and it throws off the weight of the 3DS, and it causes strain on the hand. So here's what I would recommend doing. I recommend you putting your pinky behind the 3DS, and then play like this, because the reason it helps me out a lot is because it puts equal balance on the 3DS, and it helps you aim better, and gives you a crisper finger. So, and another thing you want to do is turn your sensitivity all the way up, and turn your sensitivity all the way up, and have it to where your reticule cursor stops very fast. That way it helps your reflexes a lot. Say for instance, if you know somebody's behind you, you want to turn around very quick and get them. Because if you have it on normal, you'll probably turn around probably moderately slow. So you want to have the sensitivity all the way up and have it stop very quickly. Especially you want to have it stop very quickly in case you have stabs. But I use the Magnus Club, so you know. So that's pretty much all my tips, hints, and tricks for Kid Icarus Uprising. You know, I hope this was helpful. If it was helpful, or if it wasn't helpful, just leave comments in the comment box and let me know how it did. You know, see you later.